What? Hello. For $1 million, Punk will change your legal name to Luffy. Bitch, I might. That's a lot of fucking money. Okay, let me fucking... Okay, just quickly gonna make sure the camera is okay. Yes, I use Opera GX. Lol. Imagine. Okay, here we go. Wait, this. Testing. Wow, hello. Thingies. Okay, let me just zoop. And bring this down here. Wait, why is this disabled? Huh. That is odd. What? Oh, that's fucking weird. What the hell? Hold on, I need to do some debugging. Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh no, this is empty. That was from yesterday. I'm just drinking some juice. What? Oh Jesus fucking Christ!
79 joined the party.
Oh wait, that's not quite right. Hold on. Wah. Ba da ba 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 ba. Oh my gosh! Thank you so much. What the heck? Okay. Wow, I'm like liquid brain right now. Fucking hell. Thank you, Team White for the gifted sub. Thank you, Evelyn, for 2 gifted subs. I really appreciate it. Wow. Okay. I'm trying to debug stuff. Okay, fine. Look, I'll move it out of frame. How's that? Otherwise, my desk is fine. I mean, I have some jelly donuts that I bought, but I forgot. Tiger doesn't like jelly donuts, so I'm just devouring the whole pack. Sure. Fine. If I must, it's the last one, chat. It's the last one. You better be happy. Here. Puppy. You must be so hungry. Oh. Num num num. Jelly-filled donuts. Pokemon fans will have a fucking aneurysm. Oh. Ah! There was more. There was much more. I spent so much money on Fallout today. Oh dear. How much did you spend, Evelyn? I am concerned. Oh, I just stole made pretty shitty cheap ones that are on sale. $300. Jesus fucking Christ, woman. How? Genuinely, how the fuck do you have that much money to spend? the things I would do to have $300 disposable income is fucking insane. It was for a good reason. I can imagine. Oh no, I was just joking, Metal. I did have to take a shit before stream though. Oh. Nom 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 nom. Nom 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 nom. No, I'm all good. I promise. I am Daijobu. Ooh, I'll take a look at that in a minute. Puppy. You look hungry. Here, let me help. Eat up, puppy. Yum yum. Yeah, hi. Wow. Battle Pass and Fallout 76 How the fuck? Okay, I'm gonna take a look at what you bought. I am actually kind of concerned. Oh. Oh, it's just a little guy. He's just a little guy. Hell yeah. Oh. Oh no, why is it? Oh, okay, no, never mind. It's just OBS being dumb. Someone put Wallace over the Charles portrait. What? He is so small. Oh, you mean like Wallace and Gromit over King Charles? That's fucking funny. Hell yeah. Okay, so, oh right, I said I was gonna do One Piece because Timoy gifted a sub. So let me check DMs. Okay. What? Animal activist group has covered the new King Charles portrait with Wallace. Jeez. Oh, that's so fucking based. Oh my god. Hold on, I need to. Okay, I wanna share this to chat. Hold on. Thank you for the cheese gear. Okay, display capture. Okay. This is so fucking funny. No cheese, Gromit. Look at all this cruelty on our RSPCA farms. It's so based. Oh my god. Wait, hold on. Let me bring this. No cheese, Gromit. That's so based. Holy fuck. I'm so glad you shared that Metal. I fucking love that. Okay, let me find One Piece light novel. Oh, cats. Oops. I want that emote. I want like a punk version of that. Hey, okay. Tag in the background. Lol. I probably should have guessed. You can hear it. She's doing Elden Ring, and she got jump scared by some monsters. Also, pay no attention to all the fucking tabs up here. It's yeah. There's nothing there. Chat. Take your meds. Unbelievable. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Oh, I don't think it actually gets bit. Oh. That's kind of. Read this instead. What is this? Chainsaw Man. Okay, I do really want to watch Chainsaw Man with Tiger, so I will definitely do that soon. We're still waiting on the new Dungeon Meshi episode tomorrow. Go down. And life in the ground, losing addiction, straighten you out, right? You really want to cut off my dick. You want to be freed from your sex drive. You want me to whip it out right now? No fucking way. You legit want to see it's cut off my dick. Don't make me repeat myself. Get it out already. This fucking face. Oh, hi, Melta. Hi, how's it going? Thank you for the shout out, Metal. Ooh, head pats. Yeah. Ooh, nice. You were painting some minis. I don't care. I have no interest in your foolish feelings. Okay, but is fighting Chainsaw Man for real? What if I crush your balls with that game? Is this what Chainsaw Man's about? There's no fucking way. I know. I will get to One Piece in a minute. I'm sorry, Tumoy. Kiss. Now kiss. Wow. This is actual Chainsaw Man. There's no fucking way. There's no way. What? Melta. Bleh. It's just like 6 pages of That's where this frame is from. That's where it comes from. Shinji reference. I was just thinking that. Okay, that's actually really fucking funny. Nice. Okay, okay. I'm gonna read the first chapter of One Piece because I did promise to Moy. Okay, not surprisingly, the final. Wait, I forgot. It's right to left. I am stupid. Gold Roger, the king of the pirates, had achieved it all. Wealth, fame, and power had all been his. Not surprisingly, the final words he spoke before they lopped off his head inspired adventurers throughout the world to sail the seas. My treasure? Why, it's right where I left it. It's yours if you can find it, but you have to search the whole world. The world is about to witness a great era of piracy. Is there more pages? Can I like... Oh, here we go. Yeah! Chapter the one you read is called Kiss Love Sperm. Damn, okay, that's a hell of a progression. Like, fucking hell, do they not have dinner first? Okay, but I actually do kind of like the art for One Piece. Like, it's got such a distinctive style. That's a frame, fucking hell. A small harbor village. 1 year ago, a pirate ship made the village its base. The wind blows from the east. Hey Luffy, what are you up to now? And the village is at peace. I've had it with you guys. No, you have to take me seriously. This is how tough I am. Villager boy Monkey D. Luffy. Ha, get it over with, whatever. It is. What's that pop up to now? Brother, what? Brother, what the fuck? Why is he just slice his fucking face open? A toast to Luffy's courage and to our great voyage. Ha har 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 har. That's my meat. Lol. He built different for real. Not anymore. I'm gonna eat it. He's gonna take that meat and eat it. Stop fighting, your ruin didn't spoil the fun. It didn't hurt a bit. He sees tears in his eyes. Oh, this is definitely like a full-on, a full-comer style comedy. It's so dumb, I love it. Cut his face up to prove how tough he is so they're recruiting him. Oh, I guess it makes sense. That was a foolish thing to do. I'm not the least bit afraid of getting hurt. Take me with you on your next voyage. I want to be a pirate too. You, a pirate? Impossible. Oh. Luffy, do you know why we call you an anchor? Because you can't swim, you just sink. Oh. What good is a pirate who can't swim? Pirate Captain Redhead Shanks. But if I don't... Oh, excuse me. I don't fall overboard, then it doesn't matter if I'm an anchor. And I'm a strong fighter. I've been training. My punch is as powerful as a pistol. A pistol, eh? Is that so? Are you doubting me? Calm down, Luffy. Let's just have a good time. Yeah, pirates always have a good time. The sea is vast and there's lots of islands to explore. And best of all, pirates have freedom! Wow. You guys stop filling his head with crazy ideas. But it's true. Come on, Captain. Let's take the lead with us. Just this once. Shanks does seem pretty cool. Okay, but one of you will have to stay behind. Sorry, laddie, you've just been beached. Let's drink. Oh, that's so mean. That's so mean. Oh my gosh. You're just too young, kid. Maybe in 10 years I'll give you a chance. Captain Shanks, I'm telling you, I'm not a little kid. Don't get upset now. Here, have some milk. Oh boy, thanks. See, a real pirate would never drink milk. That was a dirty trick, lol. I'm getting tired. I even stabbed myself in the face so you take me with you. Luffy. Captain's just doing what's best for everyone. How do you figure, Mr. First Mate? The safety of the entire crew and ship rests on his shoulders. Being a pirate isn't all fun and games, you know. There's lots of duties like pillaging, hostage-taking, heavy drinking, and swimming. And the captain knows all about the dangers of the sea, too. It can kill you in 1,000 ways. It's not that he wants to crush your dream of becoming a pirate. Well, I don't believe it. Shanks just likes to make me look dumb. Hey, Anchor, I told you. Lol. Captain Shanks, I'm glad to see you and your crew are enjoying yourselves. Oh boy, I just love making fun of this kid. That's so mean! Maybe the lad's got a point. It's just fucking pointing at him like, yeah, it's this bitch right here. Makino, proprietor of the tavern. Luffy, would you like something to eat? Luffy, fuck. Yeah, just put it on my treasure tab. Treasure tab, look boy, don't try to swindle a lady. I'm gonna become a pirate, find lots of treasure, and then I'll come back and pay her. Huh, we'll celebrate together when you return. Hee hee. Shanks, yeah kid. How much longer will you stay at this village? Let's see. We've been using this village as base for yeah. Hi Sliv! Slive. Fuck, I forgot how to say your name. How's it going? After 2 or 3 more voyages, then we'll leave here for good and head north. Okay, I'm just reading One Piece because fucking Timoy gifted a sub. So I will get onto reading the actual thing soon, I promise. Doing good today. Hell yeah, I'm glad. It's really good to see you. 2 or 3 more trips, eh? Wow. I'm gonna learn how to swim by the time you leave. That's good, kid. Do whatever you want. Daily One Piece reading. Hey, don't push your luck. Slam. Make way for the Scourge of the Mountains. So you call yourselves pirates, eh? First time we've seen pirates, you look a lot like a sorry lot to me. Do I have to read this out loud? Like, I don't want to burn out my voice before I even get to the book. I'm gonna just like read this in silence. Wah. This guy, I don't like his face. Why he look like that? Just scream all the dialogue. I said I don't want to burn out my voice. Fucking hell. Smashes the fucking bottle against his head. Jesus Christ. I'll give 20 subs so we never have to read this. Sure. I can just like read this with my off stream if that's the case. Fucking hell, dude. What an asshole. I hope for LP read long streams. IDK. Oh my gosh. I need to get a drink after I finish this chapter. Finding a role model. Oof. Oh, hey, he discovered his stretchy powers. Oh, he can't swim anymore. I mean, if he just like wears a floaty, he'll be fine, right? Right? Just fucking wear a life jacket everywhere you go. Unless he just like tips upside down and drowns in it. Oh, I didn't see that. Hold on. Let me try and go back. It's probably before this. Oh yeah. Right there. Wait, was I... Oh yeah, I was on this one. Why are they just beating the shit out of Luffy now? Wild. Oi. Oh, can you refill my drink, please? Thank you. Okay. And he called me names. Oh, this dude's fucking tongue. Damn, that must be some crazy head from this guy. Aww. Yeah, it does seem very goofy. Oof! Fucking stubbed a cigarette in his eye. That is horrifying. Actual nightmare shit. Character design is cartoon itself, but it's so peak in the way it's done. Honestly, this guy kinda has a vibe. I like him. And that's a really cool angle too. Yakuza accounts for real. Oh, it's like a flashback to how the fight started. Oh. What? Giant fucking sea monster. Oh, got those gonium. Check the ooh, okay. Okay, that's actually pretty funny. Is it the same animation or does it change? Okay, I think it might be the same animation. Yeah, I think it is. That's fucking funny. That is thinking Yakuza 3, 4, and 5. One Piece is so goofy at first and stops late, but also makes you miss how it was in a good way. I can kind of understand that when it just takes a different direction. Oh fuck! He lost his arm. Fucking hell! I was not I was not ready for that. Aw, Luffy.
You're reading One Piece.
Yeah, Timo gifted a sub, so I promised I would read the first chapter of One Piece.
Well,
Thank you.
I chose.
Thraka says hi. Thank you, Metal. Oh, this bottle's leaking. Fuck. Ah. That's a pain in the ass. Bleh. Oh, that's who gets a straw hat. Aw, it's kind of sweet. Oh, and hey, like Shanks said, he fucking 10 years after. That's actually pretty funny. It's all grown up. This little eye scar. I wonder how he got the scars on his chest, though. Luffy top surgery. Luffy top surgery. Gum gum. Pistol. Holy fuck. This punches a giant sea monster in the fucking face. A lot later. Oh, okay. Aw, that was actually kind of sweet. Yeah, that was pretty sweet. I approve. I approve. Wait, why is my... Oh, there we go. Hold on. My fucking webcam is being weird. Okay. What? Back to what we were doing in the first place. I'm back. Wait, is the chat thing working? It's not. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Oh dear. There we go. That works. Hi, Peps. Oh, that's why I didn't. Okay. Yeah, I was on the wrong scene. I forgot. Yay, we're back. Wow. Wait. Thank you, Metal. And I had to go 15 minutes ago, but I stayed for One Piece. Well, thank you for dropping into my. I hope you have a wonderful day. Okay, let me get rid of this. Move my camera over a little bit because it's like slightly off and it's bothering me. There we go. Yeah. So, where we left off, we... Okay, I'm trying to remember. So, Gazghkull got his head fully blown off, and walked to a mechanic, and the mechanic, fixed him up, and then tossed him out because he thought he was dead. Turns out he wasn't dead. Gave, a prophecy thing to, Makari. Makari was like, hey, look at what's behind you, and fucks off. Yeah, that's pretty much the summary of what happened last time. Okay, so okay, how do I sound? I'm gonna popping test. Popping titties. Tits and pee-pee. Cock. Is that synth okay? Do I need to go a little bit closer to my mic? Because I'm doing ASMR, aren't I? Do you like my ASMR voice chat? I could do it like this, so I don't fuck up my voice. Fuck it, I'll give it a try. Okay, so we are on interrogation 3. You ran? Asked Cassia through gritted teeth, crabbing her hands against her temples as she spoke. During the gross description of its supposedly... Fuck. Off to a great start. During the gross description of its supposed holy vision, Falx had felt a headache coming on, but to psychers in the cell, it had been an ordeal. Even Hendrickson, for all his celebrated mental discipline, had a queasy look as if he were trying to keep down a half keg of used engine oil. Of course they ran, said Baita, as if defending the prisoner's honor. They're a grot. But you said you felt a bond with Gazghkull, said Falx to the captive, more interested in what it had to say than Baita's editorial commentary. She received a sneer and a dismissive muttering response. Yes, they say, Baita clarified. But also, they're a grot, and a grot's bond of service cannot be sincere if it's not tested repeatedly by attempts to shirk it. Constant recalcitrance. Oh. Recalcitrance, offered Brother Hendrickson irritably. Yes, recalcitrance is, you could say, a way of making sure a master has good wits. Falx scratched at the scarring around her cranial plate and turned to Cassia. The vision pained you, Cassia. Is the grot a psyker? No such thing as a grot psyker, said the Ogren psyker, then grunted in mild annoyance as Falx raised an eyebrow at the irony. Or at least, there's no such thing on this ship. I don't remember what voice I did for Cassia. Fuck. Like I said. No, that's the orc one. What do I do for... I'll just give her a normal voice, fuck it. Like I said when I smelled him out before we started, there's something to this one, but it ain't that. She's right, Hendrickson announced, with more than little bluster. Blah. Oh, excuse me. You never liked it when Falx went to Cassia first with questions of the mental arts, after all. Ugh. Sorry, my leg is cramping up a little bit. I need to stretch my leggies. I did a very leg-heavy workout today, and my legs are kind of dying. I was supposed to go out to the shop and get Tiger some more monster, but I fucking dead-legged myself. Ugh. God, my leg is still really sore. Ugh. Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah.
There is something to him. And there was something to that, too. The vision. But even within the crude witch lore of the Greenskins, there are tricks. Crude resonances, which can be cast on a lesser being to impart a sense of power, or to deepen the fidelity of a forgery.
Not that I would come project you, wailed Biter, brow ridges lifting as they raised a talon. But look. Hendrickson swung his shaggy head. Fucking hell. Hendrickson swung his shaggy head towards the prisoner and harumphed. The grot had pulled down the collar of its jerkin to reveal a great blackened mark in the rough shape of an orc palm print seared across its shoulder. Oh, thank you for lurking, Babs. I hope you have a wonderful day, and good luck with delivery. Pog snoring ASMR when. I mean, probably have more success asking Tiger for a snoring ASMR. She snores like a fucking jet engine. Falx was short. Blah. Falx was sure it had not been there when they'd scanned the creature for explosives, but now she could even see the lumpy ridges where the prisoner's skin had bubbled up around the burn. The hand of the boss, said Biter quietly, failing to conceal a near infrasonic growl of awe, while the prisoner's face stretched into a mean, tight-lipped smile. Lex had a funny leg cramp issue earlier. He was so shocked he pulled the character he was praying for in his first lot of drawers. He was so shocked his whole body seized and he got a Charlie horse to put in. Oh my god, that does not sound fun. I'm sad I missed the Lex stream though. Thank you for the head pat, Smelter. Yay. We shall see. So, oh, fuck, I missed a bit.
The handiwork of a blood axe trickster,
Contested Hendrickson. We shall see, said Falx. The evidence that Makari did indeed sit before them was certainly mounting, but she had learned long ago that Hendrickson's instinct for a ruse was to be ignored at her peril. For every 9 false positives, his 10th suspicion would be the one that saved them from a devour occult patriarch, or a Gallmeyer face wearer, and he seemed more certain than ever that they were being deceived. She would have to take measures. Sub-vocalizing a command to the chamber's servo skull, she sent it off, puttering off to the brig's entrance, with a message for the warden of the ship's vivarium. I might need to ask Tiger to be quiet. Yeah, I'm gonna do that super quick. Wah. I'm sorry about that, chat. It funny, yes. Indeed, very funny. Oi. Okay. She would wake Zotel, and then they would have the truth. But for now, she bade the prisoner continue. I didn't make it many in 5 tusk lengths, mind, translated Biter. The second I was up off the dust, Gazghkull kicked back with his heel. It was a leg with the new knee on it and all. And without even turning round, he punted a rock right at the back of my skull. Masterful it was. Knocked me down flat, as absently as if he was swatting a bitten bin git off his brew. Fuck, I can't read. All the while, he kept looking at that flap that led back to Grotznick's tent. You was thinking, said Felix. No, said the prisoner, with sarcasm so poisonous it required no clarification from Biter in translation. He was scratching his arse. Course he was thinking. And since his brain was busy, he told me to write down everything I'd seen in the vision, so he could think about it later. There was a problem now. Why? Nothing to write with gut brains. Biter's face froze after saying that, as the orc calculated whether they had gone too far in getting into the spirit of the Gretchen's words. And the grot cackled at their predicament. But Felix had been called much worse, and made a rolling gesture with one hand to keep the account flowing. The doc had a can of paint for surgical markings, but it had dried up years back when he started eyeballing his cuts. And all I owned in the world was the 2 sheets of metal I lived under, plus my getting stick. So Gazghkull told me to stab him in the leg with the getter, and use his blood to write with. From the look on the grot's face, as Biter relayed this last detail, this was a particularly treasured memory. I thought your kind had no written language beside crude hieroglyphs, queried Felix. Writing, drawing, same word for us, said Biter. Same word as fighting, but you say it quieter with less. How do you say? At that, the orc's eyes flared, and they let out a vicious, abrupt growl that made every muscle in Felix's back stiffen at once, and had Hendrickson's knife out of its sheath in a heartbeat. The ferocity was gone at once, though, but it was as if a vile sun had briefly glimmered through clouds. For all of their bizarre affectations and their fascination with diplomacy, she reminded herself, this was just another beast that happened to wear a most unusual mask. Quite, she said, with a smile as thin and precise as a duelist's blade, as Biter grinned back at her. Anyway, the translator continued, clearing their throat with a sound like a shovel stuck in a bilge pump, and taking on their Makari voice again. I grabbed the sheet metal that was half of my house, started to write down the vision. Only the most important bit though, that massive, perfect orc, with the horns and all the arms holding guns, standing on a big pile of bodies with spaceships going round its head. I had to get a fresh paint a couple times, and I waggled the getter in the hole a bit more than I had to when I did. But Gazghkull didn't even flinch. He just kept staring at the tent, like he was getting ready for something. It was to Gazgkull's liking, at least. He only kicked me lightly after I gave it to him, and after turning it a little to see how it caught the light, he worked his thumb into one of the gaps between his head stitches, and anointed the image with the gore of his holy wound. He tore the strapping from an old boot lying in the dust, used it to lash the metal sheet to my getting stick, and then it was a banner. What then? Asked Fox. And he gave it to me, and he gave me a name, and then just like that, I existed. So that's pretty cool. They had a war banner with a vision of what Gazghkull saw. That's so cool. Or a fucking Makari saw. Makari, said Gazghkull, after looking at me for a few seconds. Wasn't a name I'd heard before. I'm still not totally sure he wasn't just clearing his throat. Didn't matter though. I might have lost 2 of my 3 possessions to make the banner, but I'd gained a name, and that was a treasure. Like most grots, I'd never had one beyond Git or you, for the same reason you wouldn't bother naming a bit of wood, or a polishing rag, or a bullet. Grots are there to be used up. But if an orc names something, he means to keep it. I had a new job and all. You'll hold that. Where I go, you go, and you'll hold it high, said the boss, so they know who's coming. What if I don't know what it means? I asked, risking a bee sting for talking back, but Gazghkull just snorted. Then I'll teach him, he said, cracking his knuckles with a noise like a butcher pulling a leg off a squig. Then he gave a shiny adamantium plated nod to tent flap. Best get started. Gazghkull walked right past Grotsnik's goons into the main bit of the tent, which served as Grotsnik's operating theatre. Doc himself was there, with his earlier failure already forgotten, and his arms up to his elbows in the belly of Rust Spike's smelter boss. The Doc hissed with frustration, and turned around with his eyes smouldering like furnace slag in their baggy sockets. He was ready to cut whoever had dared walk in on his procedure. But when he saw the intruder was his patient, back from the dead, it was like he'd stood on a sand git with no boots on. Those nasty eyes went wide with alarm, because he knew he was about to get a pasting. But then they went even wider in excitement, because he saw that his surgery had worked after all. The doc was so thrilled, in fact, he stood bolt upright with half the smelter boss's guts still in his hands. That didn't make the smelter boss very happy, but his griping stopped just soon enough, when he clapped eyes on Gazghkull. Just like Grotsnik, he could smell the danger in the room. I was really looking forward to seeing the doc get hammered into the ground, but after all the beatings he'd given me over the years. But Gazghkull steamed straight through the operating room, ignoring the doc altogether, and headed for the tent's entrance flap. Where I go, you go, it said. So what could I do but follow? If the doc was bothered to see me saunter out of the tent behind the living corpse, he didn't let on. Perhaps he realized I wasn't the same grot anymore. Perhaps he didn't want to push his luck. Either way, he said nothing as Gazghkull ducked under the rolled-up hide door and walked out into the light of morning and Rust Spike. This place wasn't a fort, you understand. Wasn't a city neither. Though it might as well have been. 6 many Death Skull orcs lived there, with more arriving each day, but they still called Rust Spike a camp. It had been, once. It had just been a single tent, actually, at the start. A few sheets of squig hide draped over a prospector's truck, right where its engine had failed, next to a big rusty spike of metal in the Badlands. But Mork had fancied a laugh that day, and when the prospector had gotten to digging for gubbins, he'd found the spike was the tip of a tower. There was a whole human city down there, it had turned out, covered in dust and rocks and never looted once. Well, it got plenty looted after that. And Rustspike had got fat off the loot. The sun was just climbing over the jumble of the camp skyline, throwing long shadows down the street, so a great black giant slid ahead of Gazghkull as he walked. It was like the orc who climbed the sky in his vision was half there, its shadow leading him down the street. We were lucky it was early too, as a knee-deep slurry of junk and squig tards that covered the truckway was still half frozen from the night. It'd be a river by noon, but for now it crackled under Gazghkull's boots and held my weight so I didn't have to wade. It was quiet. A lone grinder was throwing up sparks in the cave-like wagon garages of the mech shop across the way, and there were only a couple of brawls underway deep in the big brew hut next to Grotsnik's, as the last revelers settled their tabs before heading back to work. Given the state he'd arrived in at the doc's tent during the night, He would have been Gazghkull's first look at proper civilization. He didn't seem impressed. He just stood there, looking it all over for a long while, and I stood a few steps behind him, holding his banner for nobody to see and feeling like a right fool. But I knew better than to ask what he was waiting for, and I was right to keep my trap shut, because that morning I learned that when Gazghkull expects something, it doesn't take long for it to happen. Racket started up and down the far end of the truckway, where it turned the corner around the bullet mill and snaked out to the camp's main gate. I couldn't see what was causing it because of the bullet mill, but I reckoned it was either a fight or a celebration. I turned out to be half right twice. It was a celebration of a fight. And its source was only bloody Dragmek, the warlord of all the Death Skulls on Urk, with his entire retinue walking along with him. Dragmek was a big orc, easily 5 times Gazghkull's weight, and taller than the two of us would have been if we were stacked up. And that weren't even counting his armor. Dragmek's rig was a one-off, hammered together from alien bones out of the eastern desert, then plated with an extra layer of lead sheet, because the warlord didn't reckon it was heavy enough. Hydraulics hissed as he plodded towards us, and as he bragged to his cronies, his huge, blue-striped fight jaw bobbed up and down in time with his real one. Just from the mind punches as he swung at the air as he swaggered along, I could tell he was boasting to his mates about a fight. They'd all have been there too, of course, but none of them wanted a crumping, so they roared with laughter and surprise as their boss recounted every blow. Like any grot, the only thought that crossed my mind when faced with an approaching boss mob, drunk on a big win, was the impulse to run and hide in a very small place. But Gazghkull had told me to hold the banner, so I stayed and held the banner. If Dragmek's lot came at Gazghkull, I figured I could always revise my options. It didn't come to that though, because Gazghkull came for them. Just walked right towards Dragmek, chin thrust out like a truck's ram, with nothing to fight with but his hands. I would have run then, if I'm honest, but I was too shocked. "You're an offense to the gods," said Gazghkull. It wasn't even a challenge, just a statement. A fact, bland as a fungus biscuit, like he'd pointed out that Dragmek was wearing blue armor. And though he didn't even shout, it carried all the way down the street, echoing off the buildings, and stopped the chant in mid-flow. Dragmek looked at Gazghkull, with his brows crunched up in confusion. Then he looked around at his mates, and they looked back, and they all laughed at once, as loud as a row of crump trucks opening fire. "You ought run," rumbled Dragmek, after he'd had enough of laughing and beckoned for the gang of grots who carried his gun to lift the 8-barreled cannon into his hand. "You heard," said Gazghkull, as he began winding the crank on the weapon's stacker gauge to get all its bits charged. Dragmek squinted at the smaller orc over the jagged teeth of his fight jaw. Back in the camp's early days, he got a bionic eye off Grotsnik, and his testimonial of "suppose it's an eye" was still daubed proudly over the door of the doc's tent, but that was about the best you could say of the prosthetic. With Gazghkull sending many tusk lengths away on the truckway, and the sun rising behind him, Dragmek was having a hard time seeing his accuser. But then he clocked the check marks on Gazghkull's leather armor, the same armor he'd worn to Gogduff's assault on the human outpost, and his good eye shifted from a squint to a crinkle of violent excitement. "Now hang on, lads," said Dragmek to the rest of his crew with relish. "Am I seeing this right? Is this a goth runt, walking around in my town?" He squinted again. "No, wait, it's even better than that. It's a goth runt left over from the lot we just battered, and he's been put together again by Grotsnik so he can finish the job." Looking back at the tent then, as I tried to work out my odds of legging it back inside and swearing blind I'd never left, I saw Grotsnik himself was standing at the door, rubbing the giblets off a pair of forceps. Other faces were peering from the shadows of doorways, balconies and looking halls all along the street, hoping to see a bit of blood. "What's it you're after then, runt?" bellowed Gazghkull cordially. "I told you," said Gazghkull, like there wasn't some massive git wearing half a tank pointed an artillery piece at him. "You're an offense to the gods. You fight other orcs, squabbling over human scrap like a snotling. You're no sort of orc, and Gork and Mork know it." When he'd finished, Gazghkull laughed again, but not as many of his cronies laughed with him this time. It wasn't the fact that Gazghkull wasn't afraid that unnerved him. Orcs can't be afraid. The lucky gits. It was the fact that he was talking like he'd already won the fight, and Gazghkull didn't know it yet. It was weird. "I'll wait for Gork and Mork to tell me that themselves, thanks," said the warlord, less cheerful now, and levelled the sights of his weapon at Gazghkull. "For now, you give him my regards. After I pull this trigger and you're waiting in the Great Green to get belched into a new body. Now, do us a favor and tell us your name first, so I can have it painted on this gun." "I am the warlord of warlords, and the prophet of Gork and Mork. I speak through my tusks and my fists and my head. I am Gazghkull, and I will bring great slaughter." There was a long silence then, as every orc watching found another orc to look confused at. Gazghkull peered at Gazghkull, looking confused himself, then shook his head. "Yeah, that's not gonna fit," he said, and pulled the trigger. "Oh, good night, Metal. Thank you for dropping in. You have a lovely sleep. It was really good having you." So, that's the end of Act 1. That's a fucking ending for an act. I love that so much. Yeah, that's not gonna fit. Fucking dies. Omae wa mou shinderu. Okay, let me just quickly get hydration. Pop. Very, very needed. Interrogation 4.
"How does this great tale play out, I wonder?"
said Hendrickson, pausing to tear a strip from the block of dried meat he had somehow produced during Makari's story.
Did every bullet bounce off Gazghkull's incredible new skull? Did he defeat every one of Gazghkull's house guards in a big jolly brawl? Is that right, Xenos?
Orcs would tell an opponent they're already dead. I believe that. I completely believe that. "No, it is not," said Biter with a sly expression that Falx couldn't pass, until she recognized it as simple jealousy at the fact that Rune Priest had food. "You would not have thought that fight jolly at all. Rukkraza, battle bliss maybe, is not joy to you as you would recognize it. Human."
"You might be surprised,"
said Hendrickson quietly, words limned with the airy lilt of his native accent. He smiled without warmth, flashing teeth as long as fingers.
"And you would be wrong to call me human, orc."
Falx shivered despite herself. She had worked with Hendrickson for so long that she had begun to forget. Outside of his armor, it was all too easy to see the Fenrisian as nothing but a very large, very capable man. Like many of his former chapter brothers, there was a certain vivacity to him, a sense of deep-rooted heartiness that was as likable as it was irritating at times. And which could easily be mistaken for humanity, but as convincing as it was, it concealed something other. Whenever she was reminded of what lay beneath the old wolf's eccentric affectations, It was like looking over the side of a small boat and seeing something dark and vast beneath. Brother Orm Hendrickson was not of her kind. Indeed, for all the near incomprehensible things that Falx had seen in the shadows between the stars, there were ways in which the Astartes were still the most alien of all creatures to her understanding, and their veneer of familiarity only served to make them more uncanny. There was a bleak humour to be found, she thought, in the Order ostracizing her for treating with alien cultures, when the last hands sheltering mankind's guttering candle were themselves anything but human. Vita, meanwhile, was untroubled by Hendrickson's statement and seemed more bothered with their desire for the rank piece of meat in the Rune Priest's hands. "As you wish, Space Marine," the translator said, trying not quite hard enough to keep the words from sounding mocking, and Falx took this as her cue to lift the conversation out of harm's way. "So come on, Orc. Enlighten us as to how Gazghkull survived 8 barrels worth of Daka." Her lip curled at the ugly feeling of the Xenos word in her mouth. "Very easily," Vita responded, funneling their lips for an abrupt hoot of mirth. "Because nothing hit him. He walked right up to Dragmech. He did not even run, Makari says. And while the street was obliterated around him and many, many onlookers were shot, Gazghkull was untouched." "And you're telling us none of Dragmech's hangers-on stepped in to help?" asked Cassia, whose upbringing had left her perennially inclined to examine conflict from the perspective of bodyguards and henchmen. "And tell Dragmech they had no confidence in his ability to kill an unarmed stripling? I don't think so," scoffed Biter. "And when Gazghkull reached Dragmech," Cassia continued. But before Biter answered, they turned to Makari and asked a series of brief, purposeful questions. There was lots of quick, violent miming, and lots of hissing from Makari, as Biter's gestures were corrected. Falx knew that to orcs, fights were the most important parts of any stories, and that gesticulation was critical to their telling. "So it started like this," announced Biter at last, punctuating the end of the sentence by lurching out of the shadows in an explosion of sudden speed. The orc was fast enough to cross the sill before Falx even registered them moving. And since she had always resisted neural augmentation beyond basic data viz implants, if the orc had intended to kill her, only Hendrickson's reflexes would have stood in their way. But the old shaman was still. Clearly he had assessed the threat and discounted it before Falx's eyes had even managed to tell her brain she was about to die. Biter was, of course, just mimicking the first punch Dragmech had thrown at Gazghkull. But Falx could not shake the certainty that had also been a testing of her guard. The fight, as the Exactor's crew proceeded to learn through Biter's reenactment of every blow, had been extremely long and extremely one-sided. Gazghkull had not gone untouched, but Dragmech's colossal armor had hindered him, and the speed and balance had whittled his constant onslaught of blows down to a scattering of clips and scrapes. Gazghkull, meanwhile, had been methodically, patiently waiting for opportunities to prize away armor, then going to work on the flesh beneath. The wounds, when they came, had been grievous. Orcs were so abominably durable, after all, that clean kills were precluded by anything but ordnance and heavy caliber firearms. And in hand-to-hand combat, they had to be dismantled piece by piece. It was a slow, grisly business, and the story of Gazgkull's fight with Dragmech was a bleak case study in just how hard an orc could fight despite an increasing shortfall of anatomy. By the time the fight had turned into what could only honestly be described as a beating, Dragmech was barely recognizable, eyeless, earless, and fingerless. He could not even bite at Gazghkull, given his jaw was hanging by a scrap of sinew. The remaining bulk of his extraordinary armor was nothing but a hindrance to the maimed warlord, and his assailant did not relent for a moment. If she had not understood Biter's words, though, she would have thought they were recanting a comedy. All their usual strange reserve had evaporated in the thrill of the telling, and they kept having to pause for fits of wild, huffing laughter, grinning at Felix all the while, as if she would suddenly get the joke. Makari was cackling too, but she noticed that while Biter tended to be most excited by punches being thrown, the Gretchen seemed to take more relish in their landing. They laughed and barked and roared, and the translator's mind blowers became fiercer and fiercer, pounding against bulkheads and bars with a speed and force that was chilling to watch. And of course, Dregmek's retinue sending it in a circle around the mauling would have been overcome by the very same rapture. They had cheered for Gazghkull, as Biter told it, and had even started walloping each other when they could no longer contain their excitement. It had not been disloyalty to Dregmek, so much as loyalty to the greater cause of a good fight that had driven them. Orcs can't resist the appeal of an overdog. That's what Lord Inquisitor Cryptman had told her, back when she had been his acolyte. And the concept had never made more sense than it did now. This was no time for pondering, though. Biter's racket had set the brig's other monsters off by now, so the shadows clamoured with hoots, screeches and rattling bars. That brought a sudden jolt of anger as she felt her sovereignty over the ship was being tested. Felix suppressed the feeling out of habit, but after weighing up the situation, she decided it would be expedient to make her emotions known. So she drew her pistol and fired, permitting herself the smallest flicker of catharsis, as the weapon bucked in her hand. "Enough," she said, in a sudden quiet after the shot, and slid the weapon neatly back into its hip holster. Biter looked down at the hole that had appeared in their leg, and then back up at Felix. She could see different potential responses wrestling to take hold of the orc's body, and she kept her hand on the weapon's grip, ready to draw again. But Biter, it seemed, was a true diplomat. "Good shot," he muttered, straightening themselves again, and Felix nodded. It had been. "So Dregmek was finished," she concluded for the orc. "Could have endured all that damage easily." "Easy," countered Biter, their gothic rougher and more halting after their performance. "Gazghkull couldn't let him, though. It was... what's the thing you say? Nothing personal. Had a job to do. Literally nothing personal, kid." It's so funny. Keeping their movements tighter now, and only partially because of the bullet wound, Biter mimed the final blows of the fight. They concluded by removing their embarrassment of a commissar's cap. "Red Riot, hi, how's it going? Welcome in." They concluded by removing their embarrassment of a commissar's cap and cracking their neck with the flat of their palm to loosen it.
"I'm guessing from your preparations," murmured Hendrickson joylessly, gesturing at Biter's hat, "that this great Holmgang, this noble duel of heroes, finished with a headbutt." "A very powerful headbutt," Biter clarified, with what could have been called an air of dignity. Then Makari spoke again, and it became clear just how powerful a headbutt it had been. Okay, let's see how long this last chapter is. I do kind of want to call it a night. My voice is starting to work. Wait, is that it? Oh, okay. It's not a super long chapter. Okay, I'll do this one more chapter and then I'll call it a night. Chapter 4. Gazghkull looks to the stars. It's one of my favorite tropes when it really is nothing personal. Lol. Fucking nothing personal kid decapitates you. Dregmek weren't much more than a pile of meat at this point, lying in the street with his guts all churned up in the thawing filth. Gazghkull was stood over him like a squiggoth over a fresh kill, blood running from his knuckles. He should have been bellowing in triumph, but instead, he looked hacked off, like he wasn't done yet. "Get up," he said, "and let me tell you now. Get up," he said, "and let me tell you now, it wasn't a request.
I don't know how Dragmek even had the blood left in his body to breathe at that point, but somehow he found the strength to stagger to a knee and then to his feet. The whole street had gone dead quiet now, so the only noise was Dragmek's breath, coming gurgling and ragged from his wrecked face. The warlord's cronies had stopped cheering, because the fight was done. It was something else now, a demonstration maybe, or an execution. Gazghkull looked across at the biggest of the retinue, an orc who was maybe a head taller than Dragmek, but weirdly lean, without even a bit of a gut on him. It was like the gods had packed all his meat into the top of him, and he was tattooed all over with glyphs, inked in lucky blue to represent all the stuff he'd looted. Bit like the human over there with all the hair on his face, actually. You know, proper. He was holding a big chain chopper with a blue haft, and it was revving away quietly, but he looked wary, like he didn't know what to do with it. "You watching?" said the boss, but not like it was a threat. "I'm watching," said the lanky Deathskull, just as neutral. The whole camp was watching, and the gods were too. Gazghkull looked around him, breathing slow, taking in all the crowds who'd showed up over the course of the fight. He grunted in faint surprise, like he'd forgotten there was an audience. "That's done now," he told the orcs of Rust Spike, tilting his head to the ruined Dragmek. Then he fixed his eye on me and extended an arm to point at the sheet of scrap I held in the air with my drawing on it. So many orcs looked at me that I nearly scarpered, just on instinct. But they was all looking at the banner. It was like I was just part of the stick that held it up. "That," said the prophet of Gork and Mork, "that's the now forever." Guess you'd say future. The orcs don't have a word for that. Don't have a word for past either. They call it the Eaten now. That's what Gazghkull dealt with then. And yeah, it was a headbutt. But what a headbutt. Dragmek's brains went up in the air like a cannon shell had hit him. But that wasn't even what was so special about it. That was a lightning. It struck the spike the camp was named after, sticking up from the ground just a few hundred tusk lengths from where the fight had taken place. The bolt touched the old metal at the exact moment Dragmek's skull caved in, so it was like Gazgkull's blow had made the sound of thunder, and unlike normal lightning, it was green. Every orc in the camp looked up at the spike, so that nobody even saw the splinters of Dragmek's head rain down onto the street. Angry little loops of electric stuff were crawling all over the rusty spar, like it couldn't all get into the ground at once. And there was a stink in the air like someone had just turned on some massive machine. I wasn't looking up. I was looking at Grotznik, and it turned out he wasn't looking either, because he was looking at Gazghkull, and Gazghkull was looking down at Dragmek. Or at least that's where his head was pointing. Well, he looked at stuff nobody else could see. Grotznik, though, well, his face wasn't blank anymore, I can tell you that. I couldn't tell you exactly what he was thinking, but I wouldn't have survived working for him as long as I did without knowing the look the doc had when he was planning something nasty. And that was a look as strong on his face then as I ever saw it. Grotznik wanted to look Gazghkull over once the fight was done. And the doc, as you can probably guess, was the type to look with his hands. Already had his scalpel in his talons as he slunk towards the boss. In fact, in his making things bigger goggles on. But Gazghkull just stared at Grotznik's hand as it reached out to him, and it was like his eye were a tractor beam, lowering the doc's arm to his side again. Gazghkull could say a lot with a look, and what he said there was dead clear. He might have been Grotznik's work, but if the doc ever mistook him for a pet, he'd be mince in seconds. Besides, there was no time for doctoring. Running Rust Spike was going to be a lot of work, and Gazghkull needed to find someone to do it while he planned his next move. He didn't need to look far. Dragmek's former second, the big, thin orc who the prophet had spoken to, right before doing in the Deathskull warlord, was now the de facto boss of his whole clan. and was standing right there, looking down at his mashed-up predecessor. Bullets, he was called, or fine bullets he has not lost on account of his luck. And that's fitting, I suppose, as he'd just been handed the keys to Rustspike. Of course, Gazghkull offered him a fight first. That's just what you do when you kill someone's boss. Manners, right? And Bullets thought about it hard. But for all the work Gork had put into his shoulders, it seemed Mork had put a good head on him too. I want to, he said, looking like his face was wrestling itself. You could tell he weren't lying. I really want to, but I reckon it's gonna be bigger fights if I serve you. Yeah? Yeah, said Gazghkull. Bullet's face knotted up again as he thought about that, and then he nodded. Turning and revving his chain chopper until smoke came out of it, he bellowed for all the street to hear that Gazghkull ruled Rustspike, and the Deathskull clan with it, and that if anyone had a problem with that, it could go through him. About a third of the street rushed in then, some because they wanted a shot at the big job, and some because they were just pumped up from Dragmech getting crumped. But Bullets had a mob of great big gits by his side, and Gazghkull walked away, confident the chain of command would hold. And I swear, when he walked away from that fight, he was whole tusk lengths taller than he had been when he came out of Grotniks. In the days to come, Bullets got busy with all the stuff Gazghkull wanted doing with Rustspike, and the Prophet got busy thinking. He stood out on the third-story balcony of his boss's fort, a knackered old starship that had been gutted and turned into a slaughterhouse, and which he'd claimed because it still had a lot of its armor. And he looked down over the camp's main truckway, and he thought. Sometimes he'd get a headache, wincing a bit, and knocking on the side of his skull plate to clear it out, but he only ever thought harder afterwards. And me? I stood by him for 6 whole days as the camp was transformed, and I said nothing. I just held that banner up like I'd been told to do. Gazghkull had said, on day 1, that there was to be no more fighting from the looter gangs in the tunnels below. He said there was all one gang now, and that he wanted the all-human city emptied of anything useful by winter. He hadn't said why, but the orcs that worked the Undercity had set about the task like hauling squigs all the same. 'Cause they'd known Gazghkull spoke for the gods. And with the gangs all hacking at the ruins instead of each other, the camp got rich. Every day, more orcs came. On the second day, it was just the usual flow of Deathskull prospectors, plus a few mobs from small forts in the Badlands, curious about how this new git, who'd apparently given Dragmech such a pasting. But on day 3, Gazghkull had Bullets announce the big rule, that orcs from any clan could come into Rustspike and not get killed, so long as they accepted Gazghkull as the boss. And then things went mental. All sorts of mobs started showing up. And since the different clans were still allowed to fight, so long as no one was too dead to work afterwards, they had the time of their lives. That street below Gazghkull's balcony turned into a riot of different coloured armour. And when I say riot, I'm not doing one of those metaphors. It was an actual riot. A massive, joyous street fight between the clans. And it never stopped, as unconscious fighters were always being dragged out, replaced by fresh fists coming off shift in the tunnels and the foundries. Fighters looked up to Gazghkull on his balcony, bellowing his name when they won, and when they lost. Sometimes they got a nod, or even a side of squig ribs chucked to him in return. Gazghkull looked down on them all, and on everything else he was making, and he saw that he weren't bad at all. And then, on the morning of the 7th day, after he'd spent the whole night staring down at the brawl, Gazghkull turned to me and said that he had a plan. "I've got a plan," said Gazghkull. "This can't last. The camp's getting full. Soon these boys will want more fighting than the big roll lets them do. I have to make of Urk what I've made of this camp. Means the other warlords need to go. Just like Dregmek, I said with the wickedest grin I could fit on my face. Not like Dregmek, said Gazghkull, raising a claw to warn me against trying to do any thinking for him. That was messy after, wasteful, and it could have gone worse after all. That was a funny old thing to say, remember thinking, because it wasn't usual for orcs to reckon that anything they'd done had gone anything other than perfectly. It's almost like groupthink. Not that I said that to Gazghkull, mind, or anything more at all for that matter. I just listened. This thing I do next needs to be better. I'm going to beat all the clan bosses at what they do best. Challenge them, he said, with the rumbling promise of thunder far away. Tests with Gork and Morka's witness, with terms so they can't argue when I win. Got it? I got it. And so, after the boss told me the details, telling me he'd hurl me off the balcony if I forgot any of them, he had me fetch grots to send to the clan strongholds as envoys. Messengers. Diplomacy as, if you want. Like the weird git talking to you now. The warlord killed the first lot that went out. And of course, and the 3 sets after that too. Cause had not heard of messengers and thought they were some kind of trick. But in the end they all got the idea. All except Ogrek, the chief of Urk's Goths, who had just sent back the grot's head. But even that was progress. Gazghkull expected nothing less of him. And then the prophet of the Great Green left Rustspike. He told Bullets to look after the camp for a bit, then went to his balcony and bellowed down for all the ever-spreading fight to hear. I'm off for a bit, he said, but I'll bring back a planet. He pissed off at the camp's gates with me in tow, and that was that. I just want to point out, that's actually what it fucking says. Where is it? Then he pissed off at the camp's gates. That's so fucking funny. Shazfrag was first, the grand speed boss of the Evil Sons he was, whose full name means arise at the fight before it's a fight. And there was no better driver on Urk. Gazghkull challenged him to a race around the walls of where the trucks live. His citadel out in the eastern desert, and brought only a rusty old trike with a knackered squig gas engine to ride for himself. That trike shouldn't have left the starting line. Wasn't even painted red. But when Gazghkull kicked open its throttle, it leapt forward like a chaser squig after a sand git, and kept pace with Shazfrag. Eyes clinging onto the back, pressed fast to the truck's frame and holding on as tight as I could, so I didn't see much of the race. But then I glanced across and saw the boss was dead level with Shazfrag, and that the Evil Sun's boss was reaching out with a shooter aimed at our fuel tank. I think I did what I did next before I'd actually thought of it, because suddenly my hand had a bolt in it, from the hopper of spare parts behind the trike saddle, and then it was throwing the bolt right back at Shazfrag's face, as he leered down the sights of his weapon. Dunno if you've ever thrown a bolt between 2 vehicles going half as fast as bullets, but it's not something you'd expect to work. And yet that bolt landed right in the barrel of Shazfrag's shooter right as it fired. The barrel burst like a rotten spore globe fungus. It only set the orc a little off balance, but it was enough. That tiny wobble from the gun blowing up sent Shazfrag through a patch of rough rocks, which turned the little wobble into a big wobble. Then there was a rush of red rock, which I saw was the canyon we were heading into, and a great jagged outcrop sticking out from its wall. And then, 'cause an Evil Sun's git never dies slow, we were riding down that canyon on the wings of a plasma motor explosion. I lost the skin on my back, but Gazghkull said I'd done good, and that felt better than having skin in the end. Everyone thought it'd been Gazghkull had done for Shazfrag, 'cause nobody had seen that it would have been me. 'Cause they thought it had been Gazghkull, that meant it had been Gazghkull, which is how it should be. Even Shazfrag thought it had been Gazghkull. Turns out he'd leapt from the bike right before it had hit the outcrop and exploded. and though he leapt straight into a rock, breaking just about every bone he had, he was in good spirits. I can't fucking read his name. Shazfrag thought Gazghkull's trick with the rock had been brilliant. And while he said there'd be no hard feelings if the boss wanted to finish him off, he also said he'd rather follow Gazghkull and see what happens next. So the boss let him live. Once the Grand Speed boss was back on his feet after a couple of days' kip, he loaded his whole horde onto Crimson, smoke-belching trucks, and followed Gazghkull out onto the Great Western Steppe. This was the land of the Bad Moon warlord Thraka, who ruled over the steppe like a pirate king with his armada of fort-sized battle wagons, and who called himself the Mega Admiral. Okay, that was pretty fucking cool. I do kind of wish that, like, talked about the race a little bit more, because I like races, lol. But that was really fucking cool. So, Gazghkull is already, he killed Dregmek in a really, really exaggerated way. Like, fucking hell, the descriptions. Absolutely insane. I love that shit. And then he beat, Shazfrag in a race. And nearly fucking killed him. And Makari caught a bolt. Fucking caught the bolt in his hand, switched it around, and yeeted it back, blew up his fucking gun, destroyed his fucking bike. Absolutely insane. Just batshit. I love it. It's so fucking dumb. But I think that's all I'm gonna do for today. Yeah, what do we think of that? I honestly am really enjoying this book so far. I do wish I could do more, but I feel like my brain is lagging a bit. So I'll have to finish it another time. But why don't we see who's online to raid? I can never spell his name right, but Gazghkull is my favorite 40k character aside from Rylanor. I don't know who Rylanor is, but this is how you spell Gazghkull. So it's Gazghkull. Gazghkull. Except the second G is silent. I'm gonna double check that. Yeah. Gazghkull. Gazghkull Uruk Mag Thraka. You'd love Rylanor. Hell yeah. What faction is he from? Is he Dark Angels? Tau? Astartes? What's the gist of him? While you explain that, I'm gonna look for someone to raid. Let's see. Got Small. Got Mira, Cake, Ray, Taiga, Sumi, Astral. We could go raid Luna. I feel like that's a good idea. Playing Cult of the Lamb, hell yeah. In fact, Gia, do you wanna message me in Discord about it? Cause I do kinda wanna just end stream, lol. Okay, let's get this raid set up. And we'll be ready to go. Yeah! I got a link for you, LDN. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for coming along, everyone. I know it's been a week since I streamed, but like I've just been dealing with shit. That's the best I can put it. Just dealing with shit. Like my mental and my physical health kind of ick for a while, so I kind of need to take a break. I still need to add another clip for the week. Okay. So plans for this week. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing, finally, my lecture on voice feminization, which I'm very excited for. Hopefully my voice doesn't fucking destroy itself before I do that. Then on Friday we have Planet Carter with Jammy, hopefully. And then on Sunday we're gonna finish building this. Oh, maybe not finish. We're gonna make some more progress on the stopper. Yeah. Okay, so thank you again for coming along, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful time. Let's all go show some love to Astral. Okay, bye everyone. Kabloop!